Hi guys, it's Vix from New Age Hipster, and this is my video response to Imogen's Oracle Obsessed tag. I saw this ages ago and I was like, yeah, I really want to do that, that would be so cool. And then it came up on my YouTube again the other day and I was like, oh, it looks really fun. I'm really late to the party, like people have been making these videos for quite a while and I'm coming in a bit late, but I'm here now. So this tag is really, it's 14 questions that Imogen created, and of course I will link to her video in the linky bit in the box below in the links. I will link to her video, and it's really just like a chat and it's a show and tell of some of my favorite decks and other kinds of decks that are on my radar at the moment, decks that I've been using. She's got questions about your favorites, your most used, most loved, first, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to come and hang out and see my Oracle decks and hear me blab on about Oracle decks for however long this video is going to take, then sit down and enjoy. If you're like, no, then I'll see you in a different video. Okay, so the first question is, what was your very first Oracle deck? And I kind of had to think about this for a while because I've had, it's weird because I've got so many decks now. You might know that if you're already following me around the place. I've got quite a lot of decks, but most of them have been collected in the last like 3 years. Previously to that, I had one tarot deck for about, I got it in 2005, I think. So for nearly 10 years, I owned one deck. And then in the last few years, my collection has just exploded thanks to living in the UK and having access to Amazon. That's been really helpful for my collection. And also just kind of being more a part of the tarot community. Like I'm always talking to people. People are like, did you see this new deck? Like you gotta get this new deck. So anyway, I kind of thought like, oh, my first Oracle deck, I was expecting it to be something that I'd had for like 10 years. And then when I realized I've only had it for like 3 or 4 years, I was like, oh, I'm actually quite new to Oracle decks considered comparatively when I think about like, you know, how long I've been playing with tarot for. But anyway, my first Oracle deck was the Daily Guidance from Your Angels Oracle Cards by Doreen Virtue. And I bought this on a whim. I was, it's a little bit used. It's kind of, it's definitely one of my most used decks. I bought this on a whim when I was on Shaman's Crystal, trying to get some crystals. I was still in my teaching job, and I just really wanted to get some new crystals to kind of like raise their vibrations and stuff. And so I was shopping on there for crystals. I put a few things in my bag, and then for some reason my finger like drew me over to angel cards. I wasn't into angels before this. Like angels weren't really on my radar until like 3 or 4 years ago. And then I just sort of clicked add to basket and just bought them, and I did without really even consciously being aware of what I was doing. So it was very interesting. So this is it. This is the Daily Guidance from Your Angels. And if you're starting out with angels, or if you're starting out with Oracle cards, then this is like, you can't go wrong with this deck. Look what's on the top. Well, second on the top. What was the first one? Oh, so on the first one, I had Daydream and Entrepreneur. That's so cool. I remember actually when I got this deck, I wasn't yet really planning my business, but during the time that I had this deck and was using it quite a lot, I was thinking, I did start to think about, you know, my tarot business and what that was going to look like and everything. And I remember always being so pissed off with the angels because I never pulled this card. I never pulled it. I was like, but there's an entrepreneur card. Like, I know I'm supposed to run my own business and stuff, and they just never showed me that card. And then it started to come up, like, you know, after I'd already started my business and stuff. I'll pull you a card from it. But yeah, this was my first Oracle deck, and it makes me so happy to like come back to it and use it. I'm not gonna pull you a card from like every deck. I'm gonna show you Blessing in Disguise. Ooh. Ain't that the truth? yeah, so it's a pretty standard Doreen deck, but you know, I have a lot of love for it because this deck really was like a big part of my journey, a big part of my process, and a big part of the reason that I'm here doing this, making this video and running my business and everything. So thank you angels. Okay, so question number 2 is, what is your current favorite oracle deck? And I picked one for this. I was like, yeah, that's my favorite at the moment. And then I was like, oh, but I really like that one too. And then I was like, oh, I really do like that other one. So I've got 3. So the first one is the Sacred Creators Oracle by Chris Ann, and this is one of my favorite decks. It's so interesting and so different and so quirky, but it's just, there's something about it that's just really really awesome, and I love using it. I love using it a lot for when I'm working, when I'm creating, but also I like to use it alongside like a tarot draw or alongside some oracle cards or something, and yeah, it always kind of like gives me a bit more info to go on. It kind of makes the messages clearer sometimes. So I love that, and that's just in a little pouch because I use it so often, and it came in a box with a book and everything, but I like just having it in a pouch because I can just like grab it anytime that I want to use it. The second one is the Vessel Oracle. I love this little deck so much. It's kind of weird, but it's like all of the books just fell. There's like a massive stack of books underneath my altar, and I did actually move them when I got the one of these decks out, so yeah, they're just all like freaking out under there now. But this is the Vessel, and it's super cute, and it's weird, and it's quirky, and it's just amazing. The artwork is just so it's just so cool. I just really really love this deck a lot. And again, it's really nice to use alongside tarot. It goes really nicely with the Sacred Creators Oracle, actually. Like one of these and one of those makes a really good combo. But yeah, I got that from Little Red Tarot because there's just such a better, easier way of buying independent US decks in the UK. And Chris Ann's deck, you can buy that on her website, and I'll post the links to those below if you're interested. And the other deck that is my current favorite is the Crystal Mandala Oracle. This deck just always blows me away with the messages that it gives. I do have I'm pretty sure that I've done unboxings or reviews of all of these decks on my channel too, so if you want to see more of them, just find them on my channel. They'll be under the deck review section. This is just, it's amazing, this deck. It's just so beautiful. And it was so weird, like when I got it, I was like, what is this? Crystal Mandala Oracles, and they're all like crystal mandalas that relate to angels and ascended masters and goddesses, and it's like, what? But it just works, like it works so well, and it's so beautiful. It's absolutely stunning, and it's yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. I love using it in my morning practice and just pulling like one of these cards and then going into a tarot reading or something like that. But yeah, that's Alana Fairchild's Crystal Mandala Oracle. So the next question, question 3 is most used deck. And I'm going to say my most used deck is probably, it's probably still the Daily Guidance with from your angels, just because I had this for about 3 years before I bought any other oracle decks. So I have used this a lot, and I haven't used it a lot recently, but when I think about the deck that is my most used deck, I'd probably say it is that one. My least used oracle deck. So this was interesting because I was going through my collection and I was thinking, like, actually I was really kind of surprised at how many decks I had that I was like, oh, I haven't used that one for a long time. But the one that stood out and felt like it wanted to be part of this video is the Wisdom of the House of Night oracle cards. And the reason that I haven't used this for a while is not because I don't like it or because it's not really cool. I just haven't. Like, it's just been one of those decks that just sort of goes on the shelf. And yeah, and then when I saw it there, I was like, I want to bring that down and I want to like put it back into rotation and start using it again. Because when I did use it, I used it a bit when I first got it, and then it just kind of went on the shelf and I didn't use it again. But it certainly did work. Like, it certainly was quite accurate when I did use it. And sometimes I think there was actually a message in it about I was asking some questions about some relationship stuff, like with some friends at that time, and it really like kicked me in the butt. So that could have actually been the reason that I put it on the shelf. But it's really cool. It's based on High Priestess of Spirit. Yeah. It's based on the House of Night books, which I haven't read all of, but I've read enough of them. They were sort of my guilty pleasure books for a little while. So yeah, it's pretty dorky, pretty nerdy deck, but it's really beautiful and really cool, and it does really work as well. So yeah, I think I did make a video of this when I first got it, but yeah, it's a cool quirky deck, but it just hasn't been in rotation. It's coming back into rotation, so you'll probably see it on my Instagram, on my Instagram stories. Okay, so next question is, how did you learn to read oracle cards? That's an interesting question. Because I had read tarot for so long, I think that I didn't really learn to read oracle cards. I just started reading them. And I think it probably is easier to read oracle cards when you've been reading tarot than it is probably to go from oracle cards to reading tarot. But yeah, I don't know. I just started reading them, I guess. So yeah, I sort of, you know, I got my daily guidance from your angels deck, and I probably read through the guidebook because it was my first oracle deck. And, you know, Doreen says to just pull like one card in the morning, and I just kind of, you know, was doing that, and I think I did a few spreads, but actually I did really use it for like a morning draw and an evening draw. Like, that was kind of what I was doing. So yeah, I didn't so much learn to read oracle cards as I was already able to read tarot, and then I just kind of assumed oracle cards was the same deal. Like, you ask a question and you pull a card. Okay, next question is, what do you use oracle cards for? This is such a cool question because I use them for loads of different things. Obviously, I read them. I read them for myself. I read them for clients. Although I do still read tarot for clients. Like, oracle cards will like come into the reading sometimes, but my readings are mostly tarot readings, unless somebody specifically wants an oracle reading, and we can do that. If I'm doing an angel reading, I will use angel cards as opposed to the tarot, but generally, like, tarot's my thing. But I do use oracles like in conjunction with tarot. So sometimes when I do a Celtic cross for myself in the morning, when I'm tuning in and tuning up for the day, warming up for my day, I will do like a Celtic cross, and sometimes I'll add like a few oracle cards around the side, or I'll put oracle cards and tarot in each of the positions or something like that. So yeah, I use tarot as I use oracles as a kind of way to kind of make my tarot readings kind of bigger and speak louder at times. Sometimes I don't feel like I need to, and then I don't. So I do that. I do still pull oracle cards, like one card in the morning, one card in the evening. Sometimes I actually do pull an oracle card for myself between client readings. I find that that is a really cool way to clear the energy. I find sometimes if I go straight from one reading into the next, I mean, I'm still doing a lot of energy work in between those, like I'm still clearing my energy and then preparing for the next reading. But sometimes I find if I pull a card from me in the middle of it, or in between the two, not in the middle of someone's session obviously, but in the middle of two client sessions, then I feel like that kind of it really breaks the breaks the energy between those two sessions, and it kind of brings everything back to me, and then I can go on and do a reading for the next person. So that's a few ways that I use oracle cards. I also use them for things like manifesting, and I very often will, and I've been doing this a lot with the Sacred Creators card, is I will pull a card for myself, and if it really, really resonates, I leave it out. Sometimes I leave it on my desk. There's actually one over there on my desk right now. I don't know, I can't remember what it is. I think follow through. Yeah. Follow through. I was like, yeah, I need to remember that, so I left it by my speaker. But sometimes I'll put them on my altar, or just leave them around somewhere where I can see them, so I can kind of continue to work with the energy of that card. Because I really feel like sometimes when we turn over a card and we get the message, it's not finished. Like sometimes a card needs to speak to us for longer than just, oh yeah, I know what that means, scribble it down in your journal and then put the card back in the deck and then off you go. I really feel like sometimes a card needs to stay on your desk until you really got it, or until something else is more important for you to know about or to connect with. So next question. How do you read the cards? Do you read with a book, or are you intuitive? So I am an intuitive reader. I read tarot intuitively. I tend to read oracle cards intuitively, but there are certain decks that I do like to work with using the book. The Crystal Mandala Oracle, like the book in here is amazing, and all of Alana Fairchild's books, the writing in her books just really blows me away, and it just really hits home. So I really like to use her books when I'm reading with one of her decks. Not always, but sometimes. Mostly I probably do with her decks, because I know she's got a lot of cool stuff to say. But then, you know, with the Vessel, I never really looked in the book with that one. Yeah, I would say predominantly I'm an intuitive reader, so I just go with what I get, and with a few exceptions, with some decks that I really vibe on the books with. Next question. Have I missed one? Question 8. How do you use spreads? So I kind of feel like I've already answered this a little bit. When I said that I use oracle sometimes in a tarot spread. I feel like you can use any cards in a tarot spread. So there's a lot of books and a lot of websites and whatever that will say this is a tarot spread, and I feel like you can use any of those with oracle cards as well, whether that is doing what I mentioned before and putting down a tarot card and an oracle card for each position, or whether it's just using all oracle cards or just using all tarot and then putting some oracle cards around the sides. In terms of spreads, like creating spreads is one of my favorite things to do. And if you head over to my website, if you go to the Start Here page, there's a whole list of like all my spreads on there. And you can also see like the images on my Instagram account and stuff. I love making spreads. Like it's just one of those things that I just love being in the creation process of that. I love making them. I love designing them. I love trying them out and changing things if it doesn't feel like it's quite working. And when I make a spread, all of the ones that are on my website, all of the ones that I've made so far and will make in the future, you can use them with oracle cards or tarot or playing cards or Uno cards or whatever cards you have. So yeah, I'm a big fan of creating my own spreads. Yeah, and I'll put the link down below where you can find them all too. And question 9, do you mix oracle cards with other systems? Yes, I mix them in with tarot a lot. Question 10, in your opinion, what makes for a great deck? I really liked that question, but I don't know if I have a really great answer to it. I really think what really makes a great deck is when whoever has created it from like a really great place. Not that creators should always be high vibe and like, you know, channel like decks without, you know, any issues or human stuff coming through. But I feel like I really notice, and maybe it's just me, maybe it's not an intuitive thing, maybe it's just my feeling of the deck, but I feel like I can notice when a deck is made with an intention of, I want to make something really cool that's going to help people, or when a deck is made from a different place, like perhaps, oh, I just want to make a deck because, you know, I just feel like doing it, or because I want to make some money, or, you know, whatever reason you might have to create a deck. But I feel like intention is like creating it from the right intention is really the key to making a cool deck. But I also feel like what's really cool in a deck is when there's lots of different stuff in it. Like I've got a couple of decks that just sort of feel like they're really similar messages. Like each card has a really similar thing to say. Like they're not kind of diverse enough. Like they're not different enough. They're just kind of like, here's a picture of your family, now here's a picture of your family doing something different, and now here's another message about family, you know, like I like my decks to have a lot of different topics and a lot of different energy. I like each card to have a different energy, in a nutshell. Okay, next question. What do you feel are the differences between tarot and oracle cards? And this is a cool question because people ask me this all the time. People are always asking, like, what's the difference between tarot and oracle? And when you're a tarot reader, you just kind of like, well, isn't it obvious? But for people who don't read tarot, or for people who read tarot but they haven't used oracle, then it is a pretty sensible question, right? So the biggest difference is obviously the system. So tarot usually follows a particular system. We've got the major arcana, we've got the minors, we've got the four suits, and most tarot decks will follow that system to some extent. Like some tarot decks go like way away from that, but they still follow the system in terms of having different suits and having like major cards. Whereas an oracle deck is just basically a free-for-all. You can put anything you want in it. And so in terms of like the differences in how they read, I love oracle cards. Like I really think oracle cards are awesome, but I have to admit that in terms of doing a reading for myself or doing a reading for someone else, I always get way more from the tarot. And I feel like that's partly because of the system of tarot. That's partly because each card in the tarot is a different energy, which obviously is something I like. And of course there's 78 cards in the tarot, whereas a lot of oracle decks have like 25 cards, 33 cards, whatever. Like you're not going to get the same kind of amount of different energies in that deck. And also, like I was saying, a lot of oracle decks seem to really not be that diverse. Like they seem to be very much like, oh, we've got like 16 cards that's all about relationships and love, and then we've got like 2 cards that are about money, and then, you know, like it's the thing with the tarot is everything's covered in there. So personally, I feel like when I'm really looking for like a meaty guides, I need some assistance with this. Like I really need to know what's going on. I just want to quickly pull at the start of the day, like what's going on with my energy. I can just pull tarot and it's like it's all there for me. Having said that, there is a time and a place for oracle decks, and I feel like for me it's alongside tarot a lot of the time, or it's I like to use them for like meditation and stuff, you know, and to just ask for one card and just be like, what's the main focus, what's the main thing I need to be focusing on right now. So in terms of the differences, I think there's a lot of differences, and I think depending on the oracle deck as well, like some oracle decks can be amazing for like massive, huge spreads and getting loads of stuff. But in my personal experience, in my personal opinion, I prefer to use oracles for just pulling a couple of cards, and I prefer to use tarot for my really like meaty, let's really find out what's going on here kind of readings. But I love oracle cards still. Like, I really love oracle cards. I'm trying to, like, it's really hard to explain like how I feel about the different systems, because I don't want it to sound like, oh, I like tarot better than oracle cards, because I mean that's not really true. I feel like I connect easier with the tarot. But oracle cards are still, you know, they're still incredible, and the ones that I've got out in front of me right now are like, you know, these are awesome. Like, they're really amazing tools. For me, I guess the best way to describe it is I feel like I'm tuning into a different energy when I use oracle cards than when I use tarot. When I use tarot, I don't know what I'm tuning into, but it feels very clear and it just comes in and it's like boom, 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 this is what's going on. And then when I use oracle cards, the energy feels softer, it feels more, not necessarily more spiritual, but it feels more like it's supportive. And not that tarot is not supportive, because it's incredibly supportive, but it's more like a nurturing kind of energy, whereas tarot feels more like a, right, come on, like let's really look at what's going on here, whereas oracle's like, come on, I'll hold your hand and we'll work it out together kind of energy. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. Okay, so next question is, do you have any super unusual or unique decks? Yes, I do. I've got my New Age Hipster Insta Oracle that's covered in cat fur. This is a pretty, it's a pretty unique deck. I made it myself, and you can get one on my store, and the link will be below where you can get that. This is a deck that I made out of Instagram photos, and it was really fun to make, and it actually works really well. And all of the people who I know who've got a deck, well, not all of them, but quite a lot of the people who I know have got a deck have said really fabulous things about it. A lot of people are really enjoying it. It's a little bit unusual in terms of, you know, we've got like a donuts card, like it's not the kind of standard normal deck. Oh, Angels is upside down. That's the one that I pulled today for Instagram. So yeah, so that's a little bit of a unique, unusual deck. There's not loads of them out there. If you do want to get one, link is below, and there's a video about that deck as well. And another unusual deck that I have is the Jesus deck, and this is a really fun one. It was made in the 70s originally 1972, and it's all of these like 70s retro images with Bible verses and these cool retro pictures of Jesus. Happy are those who have not seen and yet believed, Thomas. It's just like, it's the coolest deck, and it's not supposed to be an oracle deck. It's supposed to be a deck of cards featuring the story of Jesus, which you can use in Bible study, you can use it in youth group, you can use it to teach kids or newbies about the story of Jesus. It's not really supposed to be an oracle deck, but I do use it as an oracle deck, and I do like to pull a card from the Jesus deck on a Sunday, and you know, have a little bit of a private church session at my witchy woo woo altar. So that is, I would say that is a bit of an unusual, unique deck, but it's very cool and very fun, especially if you're into like hipster Jesus and stuff. Okay, current deck crush. I have a big crush on the Lioness Oracle Tarot. I think it's the Lioness Oracle Tarot or the Lioness Tarot Oracle. And it is a tarot deck, but it's also an oracle deck, I think. From the images I've seen of it, it looks really oracle-ish. But I think it does follow the system of tarot. I'm not totally sure, but that's the one that comes to mind. I'm trying to curb my deck collection, my adding to my deck collection a little bit, because I feel like I've bought a lot of decks in the last few years, and while most of them have been wonderful to have and to use and to play with and to help me to connect with my own stuff and to help me with clients and everything, I just kind of feel like I really want to enjoy the decks that I have. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep buying new decks, because, you know, if I see something that looks amazing, I will totally get it. But yeah, I've been trying not to have deck crushes, I guess. I've been trying not to crush on any any decks too much at the moment, but that's one that's kind of on my radar a little bit. Oh, okay, so the final question is, if you could only use one deck from now on, what would it be? And I forgot to think about this before I made the video. If I could only use one oracle deck from now on, what would it be? I would have to be, I'd have to be a little bit up myself and say that it would be my own deck, my New Age Hipster Insta Oracle, because I made it for me, and it's got all my own photos in it, it's got all my energy in it, and it works for me. Like, it works, and it really helps me to tune in to what's going on. But I don't know, because the daily guidance from your angels has a special place in my heart. I'm gonna go with my own deck. I think it would feel a bit crappy to have to throw out my own deck, right? Like, that doesn't feel good. So I'd hang on to my own. Okay guys, so that's it. That's all of the questions. Thank you, Imogen, for creating this amazing Oracle Obsessed tag. If you guys do make a video after you've seen this one, please tag me in it or send it to me somehow so I can come and see it. And that's it from me. If you do want to grab an oracle reading with me, or a tarot reading, all the links are below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Loads of love and light.